Many thanks to fellow Extraction Squad, one of the original DayZ servers, Clash Vanilla servers, Sergeant Pepper servers, Sea of Doors Cloud, We That Remain Roleplay, the Struggle Community, the Karma Crew servers, DayZ Curriculum Leaderboards, and Dots for making this video possible. DayZ 1.27 has changed where loot tiers are and where hunting gear will spawn on Sakhal, but Chernarus has also seen some major tier area changes, such as bringing tier 2 and 4 to the airfield. So in this video I'm going to bring you up to date with the loot tiers in DayZ and explain why loot is still a bit broken. On Chernarus, tiers 2, 3 and 4 have changed, so starting with the southern changes to tier 2, it's been pushed back more towards the Lenogors, covering a few hunting stands instead, so these are no longer tier 3, these are tier 2 hunting stands, but in exchange, tier 2 has made way for tier 3 to cover the whole of Green Mountain instead of just being a little patch of Green Mountain being tier 3, including the hunting camp here, so this is tier 3 now. The biggest change to tier 2 though is how it's now covering the southern edge of Northwest Airfield, including the entire admin and industrial area here, and the first 3 bunkers and the buildings here just on the other side, and the whole of the assault course area including the camera building here, so this is all tier 2 now. Tier 2 was also added to the north side of the airfield at Bash, but doesn't cover the whole of this area. Only the garages and the camo building that has a basement are covered in tier 2, so this camo basement building is worse for loot than the surrounding buildings just to the north, the barracks buildings, which are all tier 3. Due to these changes, tier 3, which used to cover the whole airfield, now has 4 different holes in it. 2 were cut out for tier 2 that I've just covered, and 2 more were cut out for tier 4, covering the whole of Tent City to the north of the strip, and this mini Tent City in the middle. The mini Tent City tier 4 area expands across the ATC, so it includes the ATC up to and including the fire station, which is a military fire station, so you can get some pretty good gear here, making these 2 tier 4 areas a great place to pick up high-end loot on the airfield. In the tier 3 areas highlighted here, you can get some decent loot listed here, which is all tier 3 plus loot, so you can get all of this gear. And in the 2 tier 4 areas, including the other areas of tier 4, which are more to the north and to the west, you'll be able to find this loot, making the airfield a great place to pick up an AKM or both of the DMR mags. It's now confirmed that tier 3 and tier 4 have been changed on Sakhal this patch, but the hunting loot area has also changed, which we didn't see coming. This hunting loot area is the best place to pick up hunting gear such as a hunting optic, PU scope, the hunting clothing like the hunting bag, which has been expanded outwards to include more locations in this patch. For example, it now covers the Ice Lake area to the north, where the new cluster of these ruined cabins have been added this patch. Several lone cabins in the center of the map now have hunting tags, and the south of the volcano along this road is now all hunting loot. It's also turned the entire village of Visokoi into a hunting location. This is close to player spawn points, so this is a great location to loot, and also the southern loot route is one of the best on the map, along with it being added to this area west of Ice Ridge Military, which the devs have painted onto the map. This is the actual loot area from inside the game files. This is not me that created this. As for the tier changes, and as predicted from our tests during the experimental phase, tier 3 now covers the entirety of Barakan, which used to be tier 4 to the south in the last patch, with many items that spawned in tier 4 now spawning in tier 3 to, I guess, compensate for this, so you can find all of this gear in tier 3 plus now. This means that tier 4 has been moved and it's been shrunk down dramatically to fit over the shipwreck instead, so basically tier 4 loot is shipwreck loot, spawning all of this gear here. Do be aware, however, that contrary to my previous video on the loot changes in 1.27, all gear that spawns here that is a weapon, ammo, or a weapon attachment can spawn inside dynamic containers. The only piece of loot that appears to be exclusive to tier 4 or the shipwreck is the dynamic container keys, specifically the blue one and the yellow one. This means it's possible to get a high-end suppressor or a weapon like the Lamas in a dynamic container, but it also means that you have a much higher chance of getting that at the shipwreck due to the sheer amount of spawn points located here. Not to mention you have to come here anyway to open the container that you want to access, making it extremely worthwhile to loot if you have the patience to travel here. Like last patch, there are some issues of loot that affect all of the maps. Livonia is mostly fixed, I couldn't find any issues on it, and while there were some reports that no loot at all was spawning inside the bunker so you wouldn't get any loot down there, I was unable to replicate that on the stable version of 1.27, so that looks like it's fixed. So all items seem to be spawning where they should on Livonia for now. Chernarus does have some issues though, with one of them being the unreliability of the game files. This is the same issue we had last patch, so you can't trust the XML data to know where stuff spawns. For example, the game file says that the AKM will spawn only in tier 4, but it can currently be found at helis and convoys too. Another example is the SSG-82 with 5 or 6 of them spawning in just one police station, and then 5 or 6 of them spawning in another police station on the map. So that's all the SSGs in just 2 police stations, yet the only mag for this weapon spawns at certain police situations, and sometimes those police situations aren't actually spawning, which means you cannot find the magazine for the SSG-82. Sometimes it seems to be extremely rare, if not doesn't spawn at all. Sakhal, because it's a newer map, does have some more issues, sometimes spawning gear in out of reach locations such as the top of this crane here, and funnily enough, this plastic explosive shouldn't even be spawning here according to the game files. It's now been assigned to the shipwreck or tier 4 only, yet it still spawns in tier 3 industrial locations. I'm not sure exactly what is going on with loot when it comes to these inaccuracies, but I believe loot is very much a work in progress at the moment, seeing as you can find night vision optics in tier 1 on Sakhal currently, and the game files not being accurate is bad for the whole community, I believe, as server owners won't be able to control loot on their servers like they had control in the previous patches, and it makes players rely more heavily on the loot finder tool to get accurate info, seeing as the game file data can't be trusted anymore. Before you go and blame the developers, understand that loot in DayZ is immensely complicated. Sakhal, or the introduction of Sakhal 1.26, has somehow added to that complexity, and it's broken stuff. Maybe it was the introduction of hunting loot areas, and if it was, I'm very happy with just having hunting stands. So take your hunting area, grab it and just throw it away. A big shout out to Tony for discovering the tier changes on Chernarus and telling me about it, that's very kind of you, and to Uncooper as well for giving us more information on the optics that we saw in the 2025 roadmap. So it turns out that the RDS optic is an aim.5000, 5000, which is 2 times magnification, and it also looks like it can attach to weapons that accept the hunting optic, so the Tundra can accept an RDS 2 times magnification, so that's going to be great for medium distances. The other optic that looks like the PSO1 is assumed to be the POSP 6x42, which is basically like the PSO1 but with 6 times magnification instead of 4. If you want to know more about the 2025 roadmap, video here, or you can see the new tiers for yourself on the map tool, now up to date, and so is the loot finder tool, all of it's up to date, and the loot finder tool is the most accurate loot information you're going to find, so I'm only going to charge $800 per item search now, seeing as I have a monopoly over you guys. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.